Be my guest, be my guest, be my guest with Sean Boy Joe. Be my guest, be my guest, be my guest with Sean Boy Joe.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Be My Guest podcast channel with me, your boy, Sean Boy Joe. I'm here all the way over in England, and my guest today is joining me from the USA. It's the fabulous, the one and only Mr. K. We can
Crowd
hear all
noise.
the loud cheering now, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
have to add in the effects. We don't normally get applause, but in America, they just cheer like it's hours on end, don't they? They just love it.
Yeah, they never stop. They just like to
No,
do it all the time.
and if you're over here in somewhere like Birmingham or London, you ask them, "Well, how is it over here?" They go, "Oh, it's a bit shit."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, they're not bothered," but they cheer for hours. America is a place I would love to be. Whereabouts are you in America?
I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. So if you look
Oh,
at a
okay,
map of the US, we're like right in the middle
right,
of the map.
right, okay. So a lot of my followers may not be aware of what you do because normally I
Yeah.
chat to blasts from the past in a podcast. See, I love a bit of rhyme there, and we've got lots of
Yeah.
Barney behind you. There's a reason that we are doing this because
Mhm.
you very kindly had me on to your Spots of Love podcast to talk about Barney, and we'll come on to the great purple guy very soon. But
Yeah.
I want to find out because you're dressed aptly in your Mr. K outfit. I want to find out a little bit about you first and what it was like for you growing up and how you got into this crazy business of TV and telly.
Yeah. So, yeah, most people know me as Mr. K. I am the creator and the host of Mr. K's Clubhouse, which is the only live action educational preschool show that is here in Omaha, Nebraska, where I live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to create a show that touched on the basics of what children's entertainment used to be, very rooted in education and positivity and love, much like our guy Barney or
Yeah, yeah.
Sesame Street or um,
Mm,
those kinds of shows that came before me or that I grew up with.
right,
And so I created Mr. K's Clubhouse. We're a modern children's show, but a lot of our core values and the things that we teach and the purpose that we have is driven directly from the shows of the past that no longer exist in the form that we do.
right,
Um, for me, I started in my grandma's in-home daycare. She still has one. I grew up in her in-home daycare my entire life, and so I was around many, many generations of children. My very first dream I had was to be a teacher and an educator, and so I spent a lot of time either by myself pretending to be a teacher and talking to imaginary kids and teaching them things, building out
mm,
lesson plans. But as I got older in my grandma's daycare during the summertime, I would teach the children in the daycare. So every single kid, no matter what age or what grade they were going to, I would teach them collectively. So if they were just starting school, that next school year, school round, I would teach them how to write their name or recognize numbers and letters and colors and shapes, those basic
right,
things. Um, if they were older, going into, say, their third grade or something like that, I would teach them things that they could expect to learn in third grade. So by the time they went there, they were a little bit prepared for that. Um, in hindsight, looking back now with what I do, I didn't know it as a kid, but now looking back, where I grow up, the community that I grow up in, a lot of here in the US, the community of black and brown people, or not now today it's not even necessarily just black and brown people. There's many other people who struggle, who don't
mm,
have the means or the money to so when it comes to children to be able to afford high quality early education is not always a thing. Growing up, when I was growing up, we couldn't afford to go to an early educational program at the age of 2 or 3, like
mm-hmm,
some people who could afford that could. So looking back now, I think I was helping to prepare those children who were at a disadvantage by allowing them to gain some skills and knowledge. So when they got into school, they weren't as behind as their peers even though they weren't able to go and begin school as early as some others would. Um, so that's kind of where this whole thing started. As I got older, it turned into me wanting to be an actor, and then turned into me wanting to be a musician and all of these things. And my dream was to be on television and film, but not my own thing. It was always auditioning for other people's things. I've auditioned
Mm.
for a lot of movies, the movie Straight Out of Compton, based on the rap group NWA. I've done auditions for the movie The Maze Runner when they were looking for that. Um, Blues Clues, the new Blues Clues and You. I auditioned to be the new host for that when they were rebooting it. That was the last audition I ever done for someone else's production, and I didn't
Right.
make it, of course. The talented Josh, who's on there now, has that, and he does
Yeah.
great. But at that time, I kind of just told my mom, I was like, man, I'll just create my own thing, and then I don't have to worry about auditioning for
Yeah.
people
Right.
anymore. And it started off as a joke at first, but fast forward a couple years, and I'm here now. I'm doing everything that I wanted to do before. So I'm teaching kids, so I get to live my educational dream
Yeah. Yeah.
of being an educator. I'm acting and getting to be myself, but the more child-friendly version of myself. And
Mm.
we use a lot of music in our show, so I still get to write songs and record music. And so I just collectively taken everything that I enjoyed or dreamed to be as a kid, and put that into one job for myself. And we've been going for 6 years now. This is our sixth year, and
Uh,
I'm just super, super grateful for, um, I think starting in my grandma's daycare, just having the ability to be around all of those different kids and be inspired by many different cultures and backgrounds and
yeah.
kids of
Yeah.
all different ages. That's where I think the most important moments of our lives come from is as children, is being able to interact with other children who look like us, who don't look like us, who have different traditions. That's where we really get to be exposed to a world outside of our own. And I think without that, I might not have been on this path. So yeah, that's kind of my beginning. I abridged it a little bit, but that's the roots of where I started from.
Yeah. That's a really great story. And I think, if I may say so, that you don't need Blues Clues. You've got yourself
Yeah,
there. You're doing so much, but you don't need Blues Clues. So tell us a little bit about what the premise of Mr. K is. I know it's live action. We unfortunately over here we lack a lot of live action interaction programs for
yeah.
kids. I think we as Brits, me as a Brit, have Sesame Street to thank for paving the way for all of those kind of live action programs. So
Mhm.
we could really benefit from something like that. So what makes your program different?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, so, the overall premise of our show is, it's led by me. I host the show. Um,
Mm,
we we recognize and we give attention to the viewer, the child who's watching our show. So we talk directly to the screen, a
right.
lot of the um, we meet at a colorful clubhouse. It's more of like a community center of sorts where all different kinds of people can come in and out, children and adult guests and things like that. And we just teach everything about the world around them. Our show is very, very based in preschool age children, just like Barney
Okay.
was, where they only had
Yeah.
the main focus was just on those toddlers. That's
Hmm.
our focus. Our age range is 1 to 6, but our primary audience and target is the 1 to 4 year olds, the kids that are
Okay.
in early Head Start programs or in child care centers, or at home with parents before school
Hmm.
starts. That is who we focus on, and we only focus on them, not the parents, not older siblings. It's just about those children. And when it comes to those children, everything in the world is brand new to them, right? They're just now gaining the concepts of things, and so everything that you teach them is new: numbers, letters, colors, but also our social and emotional things that are important to us: how to be a friend, how to have self-confidence, how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have empathy, respect for others. And we also teach things outside of that, like farms or cars or dinosaurs or
Yeah.
outer space. Everything is
Academics.
fun to a young child like that because everything is new to them. So when you say what is different for us, the the foundation that we built on were three shows. The three shows that stuck out to me the most when I was a child. That was Barney and Friends, that
Hmm.
was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and it was Sesame Street.
Right.
To me, what stuck out with Mr. Rogers was this human figure, someone that I can see and look up to, whether they were a grandpa figure, kind of how he was by the time
Hmm.
I was watching the show, or when he was younger, he probably appeared to kids watching at that time as an older sibling or relative. But just having that, the power of the human interaction, you were
Yeah.
saying how you guys lack live action. We're lacking live action here in the US as well.
Are you
And we
really?
miss that. Yeah, everything is animation now, and so you miss the power of what it means to be a human and interact with
Yeah.
another human being.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
something that's super, super important that I don't understand why we've gone away with that.
Right.
Um, but I knew that that needed to be a foundation for our show. On top of that, what Barney provided was you got to see young children on the show who kind of looked like you, and you could aspire to be them on the screen,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
see yourself in them. And they had a lot of colors and songs and dance that helped make that learning fun. So we do
Hmm.
that with our show. We use a lot of songs and dance. We use a lot of stories. It's very colorful, but we also cast local children here in the city and state that I'm in to be in our show.
Brilliant.
We're the only show here in Omaha, Nebraska, in Nebraska as the state in whole, who pays children to act in anything. Um,
Right.
it gives them an opportunity like this. There's never been a television show where children can be on it and be paid to be on it as characters until we come along. So we get to
Okay.
provide that to our community. And then we use puppets in our show. We know that puppets are always popular with kids, with
Yeah. Yeah.
adults.
Yeah.
Sesame Street is largely based on just their Muppets now, and not so
Right.
much the and so we use puppets in our show as well. But what makes us different is what we provide is something that no show has provided yet, and that's all of those elements into one show. What I just pointed out was the key points that made Mr. Rogers successful, the key points that
Hmm.
made Barney successful. It was those very specific things. Mr. Rogers didn't have a lot of children on his show. He didn't sing a lot of songs or dance. It wasn't very colorful. He was just a human being who provided you love through the screen.
Right.
Barney had adult human characters that would come in and out, but the main character was a guy was a dinosaur, right?
Hmm.
Um, so you, besides the children on the screen, and by the time the show got later in, it was all the dinosaurs and no kids really. You don't really get that mentor kind of human interaction that you would from another like adult human being
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
And then with Sesame Street, the Muppets, the puppets were the things that makes them so popular. We've taken all of those pieces and we've combined them into a well-oiled machine where you get all of that. You get an adult human being who can provide you these skills through life and teach you. You get to see kids on the show that you can see yourself in. You get to sing songs and dance and have fun along with that. And there's also puppet characters that also spark children's interest or adults' interest. And you get all of that in one show. So I think that's what makes us unique when we compare to shows of the past, current shows now.
Mm.
And somehow I've been able to make that machine work very well. And
Yeah.
we've been on a steady incline since we started. And so just staying true to that and really just driving home those elements and why we're doing it is what I think kind of sets us apart from what the media lane is today for children.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. And I think the trouble is, more so over here, the media companies and the people behind them are getting ever decreasingly younger. So they have no idea what the programs were when we were a kid.
Mhm.
And they just scratch their head and go, well, I have never heard of that. So therefore, it doesn't exist in my mind. And not only that, it comes down to programs like Peppa Pig and that sort of thing that globally can be sold all over the world and dubbed in any language that you want because
Yeah.
it's cheap and mass produced, and they can do that. With a program like yours and like Barney, it takes a lot of time and a lot of skill to actually produce that. Children
Mhm.
are also sponges. A lot of these people will say, well, children have changed now with iPads and all this stuff, but they haven't. They will soak up whatever they are put in front of. If it's all they
Yeah.
have, that's all I had when I was a kid, and it didn't do me any harm. So I think children are sponges. They will soak up what they see. I don't think they have changed, but you've got the
Yeah.
seed and you planted it again.
Yeah, you're right. I'm currently in school right now. I'm back in school to earn my associate's degree with
Right.
early childhood education just so I can have more knowledge and intent behind what we're doing on our show.
Hmm.
But you're absolutely right. The landscape, I just wrote a paper last week about the differences as far as it comes to educational value and how someone like myself will look at it versus how a parent looks at it versus how a distributor or a multi-billion dollar company looks at it. Um, you're right, they're getting younger, so they don't know the things that came before. But they're also very rooted in the money grab, right? It's
Right.
well, if this show sings a song about letters, then no matter if it's educational or not, we can promote it as educational, which brings in more dollars because parents trust that if you say this is educational, then it's educational and I can turn it on and I don't really have to make sure that it is.
Right.
It generates more money for these streamers and distributors and companies, which then turns into, toy sales. We see Mattel now, the creation of Paw Patrol or even
Yeah.
Peppa
Yeah.
Pig or the new Barney. It's all rooted in how do we sell more toys? It's not actually rooted in anything meaningful that the kid is
No.
gaining from the show. It's how can I get that kid to like this show so their parent will buy them this product. And I think that's where we've gone wrong. Part of it also is we've not we, but the media lane before, like I came into it, they created shorter and shorter children's content, right?
Yeah.
And now they're using that as their basis for why things need to be shorter. They changed the landscape of what children were watching. And kids actually, their attention spans aren't changing at all. They're just getting used to all of the media that is shorter these days. And it's because we just started doing that on our own. Now kids
Right.
are used to it. And so now they're going, well, research shows us that kids' attention spans are shorter. And it's actually not. Just like you were saying with um, the tablets and things like that. It's what
Mhm.
you're providing to them, and that's what they're going to get used to.
Yeah.
If we
Right.
went back to providing long form educational shows for children, and that's what they were used to seeing, we would have a generation like ours again that grows up with expecting that kind of
Yeah.
programming. But because they've changed it so much, because it's became more entertainment value and money, and then education is the last piece of it,
Mhm.
it changes the entire landscape that we're in. It provides more hurdles for folks like me who our whole focus is education through entertainment. If we're not teaching you something, then there's not really a purpose for us. And so everything that we do, every single moment that you're interactive with our show, whether it's a song or a piece of dialogue or a story, it's
Yeah.
all rooted in some educational message that we want that child to remember when they leave that show.
Hmm.
And unfortunately now shows like Peppa Pig or Paw Patrol or, Blippi, they don't provide that. They just provide a lot of fast-paced quick changes,
Yeah.
and they think that that's what children are going to benefit from the most, and they're actually not providing them anything meaningful, in my opinion.
No. No. I completely agree with you. One of the things that we struggle with over here as well is that the fact that we have to sell baby products on commercials and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of the content that was once family viewing has to be dumbed down to a very younger audience. And I think it's very important that we don't underestimate how children's minds work. And they are a
Yeah.
lot older than they seem.
Uh-huh. Dude, man, you're abs that's exactly what I say to people all the time. Um, a lot of time they ask the question like you asked, why do you do this?
Mm,
And largely in part, obviously I want to impact children and families in a positive way. But the
mm,
number one reason why is because I just respect children. And I think that's the thing that does not happen anymore. Or never did. I don't really think. There's
right.
very few shows that did where you actually respect the child as another human being. A lot
Hmm.
of times we have that uh authoritarian view of children where I'm the adult and you're the child, and there's that dynamic. But those children are still human beings. They can still understand language, they can still understand concepts. Maybe you have to explain it to them a little if they don't really know if it's something new, but they are
Mm,
capable of understanding things. And the one thing that I truly hate the most when it comes to targeting children is how people feel like they have to be condescending to a child. Um,
mm.
on our show, the way I'm talking to you now is how I talk on our show to the kids
Right.
who watch. Now we
Yeah.
we're used. we use simpler language so that we're not using giant words that they don't understand. And if we do, we explain what that word means.
Right.
But it's hey, I'm an adult, but I see you, a child, as another human being, and we're talking to each other in this way that you can understand. I don't have
Yeah.
to put on a silly voice or talk with these very, very dumbed down words or baby
No, right.
words to make you understand. Because also then at that point, we are hindering their language development. If we're not providing them with new grammar or words to be used, then they
Hmm.
are not growing developmentally with language like they should. Um, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves of what happens now is anytime you mention children for any kind of media, a lot of people instantly go, okay, I have to start talking in this very ridiculous voice. And you don't. You just talk to them like they're human beings. You respect
Yeah.
them like they're human beings. And that's all you really need to do to be able to provide something of quality to any child.
Yeah. And if they don't understand, then they will ask you that question, and then it leads on to
Yeah.
important conversations.
For sure. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that we do in our show is one of our writers is very good about this, is making sure that we don't underestimate them. So, like in our show, we don't just assume that a child doesn't know something, right? So instead of us going, like one of the new episodes we were writing, we have wrote, they were using a trowel, which is the shovel that you use to garden,
Hmm.
and Mr. K started defining what it was. And then when we went back and read it, we said, well, in that way, if I just automatically explain every single thing, that's assuming the child doesn't know anything. So instead of that, the way you can get around it, if you want to define what something is, in our show, what we do is we have a kid or one of the puppet characters or Mr. K ask, hey, what is the trial? The trial, right? And so that provides an opportunity for us to go, oh, okay, a trial is this garden tool that you use, right? Versus us just going, this is a trial, and a trial does this thing.
Yeah.
Um, because a lot of kids actually understand far more than we think they do, and you
Hmm.
don't ever want to get into the realm of assuming they know nothing, because then they
Right.
won't watch anything because
Right.
they'll assume that, oh well, I already know these things, why do I need to watch it, you know?
Right. And it's also similar to blocking as well, because you're
Hmm.
opening conversations. If you say, right, this is what this is. Oh, well, we know that now. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Rather than saying, right, well, what is this? Let's explore
Yeah.
what it is. And then the children have the opportunity to then ask you and tell you what they think it is.
Oh yeah, open-ended questions that, they can't just answer yes or no with, that they
Uh-huh.
have to put together words to be able to define are
Yeah.
very, very important, not just for how an educational show is beneficial, but just the child's development as a human being that is needed, right? Um,
Hmm.
oh, that is the sun. What color is the sun? What does the sun do? Or what is the rain? Where does,
Yeah.
allowing them to form their answers and their ideas helps them to grow. That's outside of just
Yeah.
a program or anything,
Yeah.
just in average life as parents or teachers or caregivers.
Yeah. You mentioned that you've taken this on tour to many different venues. What's that like taking it from the TV screen to the stage?
So there's two different ways that we do it. Our main thing that we do is we go into libraries, daycares, perform at community events, and it really is just us. We have a giant puppet theater stage. One of our
Hmm.
puppets comes along. Our puppeteers comes along with some of our puppets, and we do a live interactive sing and dance along about anything really. The new one that we're doing now or we're starting to introduce is about pollinators and three different pollinators that start with the letter B. So we focus on bees, butterflies, and birds. And so our entire show is introducing what pollinators are, what they do, singing songs about those different things, but it's interactive. So the audience gets to sing and we ask questions and they participate. Um,
Hmm.
and that's something that we can do kind of anywhere, whether it's a small venue or a big venue. We just kind of pop in with our music and our sound effects and we just do a intimate kind of performance. Last year, we did our very first stage play. So we did 4 days or 2 days of four shows total. And that was a full-on hour-long production with changing sets and other kids in the show and all of our puppets and other characters. Um, and that was just very much what our show is on the screen, but putting it onto a stage, making it a little bit bigger, still keeping the interaction and asking the audience questions that they can yell and respond back and sing songs and sending people into the audience. But it's very much still very true to what you get with our television show. Just now you get to see us in person and be a part of that adventure with us in real time, where we can actually hear the kid ask a question or yell an answer and be able to respond to them immediately. That's what I actually enjoyed the most. I love our show. The show is amazing. It's fun to do it. It's fun to create. But I value far more coming from behind the screen of the show and being in person in a community with children in schools or daycares or
Yeah,
community
yeah.
events, because I get to then really learn about the kids that we're impacting. Whereas with the television show, I can't do that because when we're filming, we pre-film, right? So we record it months in advance. Kids see
Hmm.
it months later. When I'm performing or I'm going in to read to kids or go to talk to children, like I'll be doing here in 2 days, I'm going in for a career day to talk to fourth and fifth graders. I get to interact with the actual kids that we're making the stuff for. Um, and that means more to me because I get to learn about them and them as
Yeah.
human beings, not just viewers of our show. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like when we go out outside of our
Hmm.
TV set into other places.
And you're right in saying that it's the audience participation is key. It's very different. You've
Yeah,
got a spontaneous reaction, so you can learn when you're on stage whether something works with kids and whether it doesn't,
yeah,
because they don't lie to you. They'll tell you as
yeah,
it is. So
exactly.
you can take that away. When you're doing more
Uh-huh.
shows, and okay, well that bit worked. Live. Will this bit work in the studio as well?
Yeah, it's fun. I was at a daycare a couple weeks ago, and you said like kids don't lie,
Mm.
and they tell you the truth. And we were there, and I was going, I was asking like, hey, how is everybody? Are you all having a great day? And all the kids are like, yeah. And then there's one kid who's like, no. And I was like, no. Like, but or if they feel the show is going too long, you go, hey, I have one more song to sing. Do you want to sing along with me for this last song? No. And it's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, time to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
But
Well, we're gonna do it anyway. Yeah, it's in the contracts.
yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
it anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just fun to be able to interact with them in real time and talk to them
Mm.
and ask them questions. And it also provides me an opportunity to go, hey, I met a kid who asked about something specific, or
Yeah.
they sometimes I find kids where they lack a certain education that the kids around them don't, and that kind of thing. And that provides me an opportunity to make a mental note of it. And when I go back to start creating more programming, I can go, hey, I saw a need for this thing, and then I create something for that. Uh, so that's also beneficial because I get
Yeah.
to use the children and the families as tools to create something. Um, Kind of tying into that, I had a friend that I went to high school with who wrote me on Instagram a few weeks back, and he asked if we had anything for kids whose parents are in the military, because he was getting ready to be uh, sent out on some kind of a mission, and he has kids at home, and we don't have something like that. So we started creating a short video of Mr. K dealing with or providing children with tools or ways to deal with a
Yeah.
parent who is being deployed. And I would not have had that opportunity because I'm not in the military, and I don't identify with that. Had
Hmm.
that parent not reached out and said, and being able to actually reach out to me and say, hey, have you thought about this? That gives us more programming for us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's a population of families out there who will identify directly with that. And you can't get that if you don't interact with the public. If we're
No.
only filming a show and putting it out, you don't get to have those opportunities. So that's also what's rewarding for our show.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And you can go down different avenues with different beliefs, different religions,
Yeah.
and all of that sort of stuff as well. You can go to all sorts of different communities, which is great. Um, the guy behind you, who I adore, he's had a massive influence on you. You've got loads of stuff there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
look at
lot
that.
going on. I'm gonna bring this one. Hold on.
Go on then.
This is
Ooh.
one of my favorites.
Oh, look at that.
He's a
He's on a
3D printed
podium.
model. Yeah, he's a 3D printed model that a friend
Wow,
made. So he's one of my favorites that I have.
he's lovely.
Thank you.
He's lovely. And I was very, very honored and fortunate that I was able to come onto your Spots of Love podcast,
Yeah.
which is another thing that you can add to your belt. Because to say that you are a Barney fanatic is just a tad underrated. You absolutely adore the guy, and I'm a part of the Barney history group as well, and I get
Mhm.
I think I got a lovely little card in the post this year, which was
Yeah.
lovely. I like that, and you get the fans to create the artwork on the Christmas cards that you send out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was part of Barney History Fans, which is a Facebook group that
Right.
is open to anyone to join. I was part of it for a couple of years, and then about 2 years ago, I was invited to become one of three admins on that
Mm,
group. So yeah, we kind of keep the community alive in a way. There's many other Facebook groups that exist on social media, on Facebook, of course, that you can also be a part of. Many
mm,
of them are great. They all provide their own specific reasons for existing.
right.
Barney History Fans specifically, our entire mission is to preserve and protect the integrity of Barney, the dinosaur, not
Yeah.
just the PBS series, but Barney and the Backyard Gang, the stuff that came before the PBS series, Barney's
Mm,
World now. Granted, however people feel about it, that's still a part of the history, and so we
yeah.
preserve that stuff. For me, being a Barney fanatic, is a little different than other people because, a lot of people, they're just huge fans of the show and that's just what it is. For
Yeah. Yeah.
me, because of that show, I found my love for acting and music and dancing.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've found a way to create a show of my own, um, and teaching things to a new generation of kids. So I keep Barney around, not just because I'm a fan of the show, but for a more deeper meaning, and just to remind
Yeah.
myself why I'm here doing what I do. It's
Yeah.
because of the people who created this character, doing the kind of the same thing that I did with my show, going, there's a need for something for these kids. What can we create? And then doing something with it. That's why I really adored all the people who work on Barney
Mm,
who did. I'm friends with a lot of them now. Some of them, Bob Singleton, one of the original music directors, does music for our
mm,
show. Sometimes Steve White, one of the original writers, has
yeah. Yeah.
written some things for us as far as music goes.
Yeah.
So I keep him around just to remember, this is why I fell in love with art, and this is why now I'm creating something that hopefully children will fall in love with because of
Yeah.
our thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, Barney History Fans is a great place to be. It's a lot of fans on there. Um, and you just get to see and learn about all kinds of history that we didn't used to have access to that now people
Mm,
are uncovering. And that's kind of what's more unique than some of the other groups is because you get to really see things that you never have gotten to see
yeah.
before. That just makes it rewarding.
Yeah. And I think it's the one thing that makes it really different is that it's got an emphasis on the history point only, whereas you can
Yeah.
see other channels and other Facebook groups that just post about Barney himself. This is
Mhm.
just tailored to the history of Barney.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did it start from? What are some of the fun behind the scenes crazy stories that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
know or photos?
Yeah.
Even with Barney's World now, the new show, what is happening with that show? When are new episodes coming out? Where is Barney making appearances?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we preserve anything that has to do with what that character was involved in at any moment throughout its creation all the way through to now. And it's definitely a place that you can come to and find answers to probably almost
Yeah.
everything that you've been wondering. And if you never wondered anything, if you're just curious about this show, that's a perfect place to go and find out, probably more information than you actually were
Yeah.
looking for to begin with, but it's available for you to have. And Andrew Olson and Kaylin Denton, were the two who created that group, and so, the credit goes all to them. I help keep it running. I'll actually be leaving it here in a few months, to
Oh,
really just
really?
focus on to focus on my show and my brand, and things like that.
Right.
So, I won't be around managing it much longer, but those guys have been there since the beginning. They
Yeah.
do a great job. The moderators that are also a part of that team that help make it run,
Hmm.
the credit really goes to all of them for the idea and making something happen with it.
Yeah, but your passion and love for him really does come across, and I loved being on the Spots of Love podcast. From the moment I sat down and the music started playing before we'd even begun, I thought this is like a time walk. It's so nostalgic. This, but
Yeah.
it was just a lovely, lovely thing to have been asked to do.
Yeah, man. I was honored that you agreed and you came on, and it was an
Oh,
honor to
thank
talk
you.
to all the fans that
Yeah.
I interviewed. The whole sole purpose of starting that podcast was to talk to the fans. We eventually
Mm,
grew a little bit to where we talked to other cast or crew members, which was also fantastic. But growing up, I remember being a child who thought I was the only one as a teenager who still enjoyed Barney, right? And until you join Facebook or you find those other groups and you find out, oh, there's other people like me in the world
yeah.
who also appreciate this show. That was something to celebrate. And so I wanted to create a podcast because all the other Barney podcasts that had existed were all about cast and crew.
Right.
They no one talked to the kids who were also in it, a very important piece in that show being successful,
Yeah.
um, and being able for people, you say ordinary people, to be able to share their story.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with this character like? What were your favorite things? What is the thing that you own that you hold dear to you the most? Those stories,
Hmm.
a lot of us don't get a chance to share, and I wanted to make sure that um, they had the platform to be able to do that. I wanted to make sure it was a comfortable space that they felt whatever they wanted to talk about or
Yeah.
express, they could do that.
Yeah.
While we just shared a common interest and love for a character that shaped a lot of our lives or played a part in the shaping of our lives. And so I'm glad to hear that for you, you felt comfortable on it and you enjoyed being there. And I
Yeah.
think other
Absolutely.
people would say the same. But it was just to be able to shine a light on people like myself who don't usually get a chance and a platform to just uh, whether you call it fanboy or fangirling
Yeah. Yeah.
or just reminisce on the past with someone else who can understand what you're talking about and that provides something a little bit different that wasn't being given at the time that I started it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you really enjoyed being on there.
No, I did absolutely. I
Mhm.
want to flip the table and ask you about what your memories of Barney were.
Oh, I don't. Barney to me was he was as a kid he was like my safe space. So
Mm,
I was on a podcast here last year called Generation Barney, where
okay.
I got to talk about this a little bit as well.
Right.
But yeah, it was like a safe space for me. As a kid, I was very, very much of a loner. I spent a lot of time by myself. I had siblings, and there were kids in our neighborhood, but I spent a
Yeah.
lot of time inside, either in front of the TV imitating this show, or I
Mm,
was pretending to be a teacher or pretending to be Barney myself
yeah.
without the
Yeah.
show and just doing things, listening to cassette tapes or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, it was a way I think for me to just feel comfortable.
Hmm.
Um, family around me, as I was getting older, I was made fun of, because I was watching it. Not many people, no one in public knew, I watched Barney or I was a Barney fan, so I didn't have to deal with that. But I had to deal with family who would, make fun of me watching it. Or I watched Barney so much that they nicknamed me. My nickname that a lot of them called me was Barney for a long time. Uh, so I dealt with those kind of things. So I wasn't into sports and I wasn't into um, a lot of the things that other kids were into outside. I was really, really into singing and dancing and wanting to be a teacher. And so um, with Barney, it's one of those things where, that's a show where it's no questions asked. You weren't exposed to negativity or hate like you would be on literally any other channel. It was
Hmm.
all about love and it was all about, hey, if you imagine something, you can be something. And
Yeah.
that meant something to me. Uh, I'm not a very religious person, but the things that Barney were teaching are also very rooted in religion, right? accepting others and loving others and caring for people and just being there for people. Um, so those me even not being a very religious person, those core character elements was instilled in me, I think, because of that show from a very young age. And it shaped who I am today. Outside of even my show, I've always been the one people can depend on and call if they need something, if they need to talk, if they need something fixed. Karan's the person, Mr. K is the person everyone comes to for
Mm.
that. And I think that show is what provided me with those character traits to be someone that other people know they can depend on and have in their corner. And I think because of that, the world that we're in today, we need more of it. People like myself, who was inspired in that way, has a unique opportunity
Yeah,
to be a safe space for someone else. But yeah, Barney mainly was a safe space for me, where I just nothing else mattered for 30 minutes or 50 minutes, however
yeah,
long the
yeah.
program was. And it only mattered of what were we learning, what were we doing and having fun around.
Hmm.
And ending it all the time with being told that someone loved you, and then
Yeah,
also remembering that it's important to love others. And so uh, yeah, that's my respect and my admiration for that character.
yeah. I completely resonate with everything you've said because I am exactly the same as you. As a singer now, I look back at Barney and think, yeah, he really paved the way to shape my career and what I do. Absolutely. I had the fabulous Corey Durham on the channel on my
Yeah.
last season's run, and he was fantastic at providing the OG classic voice of Barney.
Mhm.
What do you think about this new Barney that's out now?
Barney's World we talking about?
Yeah,
Um, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm a
okay,
supporter of it. I
I'm
have two.
surprised.
I have uh I have young kids. So my two youngest kids are one and he'll be two in July, and then
All
my
right,
daughter is four. So
okay.
they grew up their entire lives so far with Barney because I exposed them to that show.
Yeah, yeah,
And so when Barney's World started, one, I was excited for it because it was time for new Barney something, right?
yeah,
And so I exposed them to that show as well, and they're huge, huge fans of Barney's World. They have some of the toys. They listen to the music in the car. They watch the new episodes. I don't sit and watch them. I watched some of the first few ones, and then I haven't really watched since.
right.
I do buy some of the stuff because, it's still the character that I love, even
Yeah,
though he
yeah,
looks a
yeah,
little
absolutely.
different or it's approached a little different. But I am different from most fans where I don't hate the show. I understand why it's animation now. I
Mm.
understand why a lot of the decisions have been made because, we were talking about what the landscape for children's media is today. Barney has been away for 15 years. Bringing him back 15 years later, of course, he would be drastically different than what he was when he
Yeah,
went off
yeah,
air
yeah,
15 years ago.
yeah.
So I understand all those things. I understand, and it's kind of a broken record to say now, but I understand that this version of Barney is not my Barney, obviously, right?
No,
Um,
no, right.
but but the one thing that I always wanted, and a lot of fans talked about over these 15 years, was how much Barney was needed for kids today. Yeah, we
Mm.
had the stuff that existed, but now these kids have their very own version of Barney. It's new stuff, new music, new adventures that they get to connect with in a way that only they can. But the
Yeah,
core of who Barney is still in that character, and I think that's what's important. As long as we have the character and the core values that that character provided, doesn't really matter what it looks like outside of that, as long as
no, right.
he is intact and he's being a space for, maybe, 20 years from now, my kids are saying, hey, Barney's World was my safe space. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Hopefully they're saying Mr. K's Clubhouse was.
I hope so.
But but I do enjoy that we get to see new things and that he is now being put out in front of people again. And this time it's different because he's owned by this mega corporation, right? So their big thing is product. So you're going to
Mm,
see Barney flood everywhere differently than it's been the past 15 years because
right.
that's one of their biggest things. But that's what I enjoy. I love going into stores now and being able to see a Barney toy on a shelf,
Magical, isn't it? Yeah.
that you didn't used to be able to see. And so
No.
yeah, that is exciting for me.
Be able to pick up a Barney doll once again after all these years. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I also lived in a daycare, so all of the
Yeah.
kids in the daycare were always there was always another generation of kids watching Barney.
Right.
So I was around it whether I chose to watch it myself or not because, my grandma and her daycare, we didn't have cable, we only had PBS. So
Right.
Barney and Sesame Street, those shows were always on. So um, I saw it all the way up
You
until
just
the last
secretly enjoyed
episode.
watching it. None of those kids there having it in the background. You just secretly enjoyed watching it.
It wasn't even a secret at home. At home, I was like,
Right.
man, yeah, I'm watching this thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't care.
I remember being far too old and turning to my friend in one of the assemblies we had in school, and I said, "Did you watch Barney this morning?" And he just looked at me with disgust and said,
Yeah.
"No, I didn't watch Barney this morning at the age of 10." I was like, "Well, you're missing out then."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
He's like, "I'm not
hilarious.
ashamed at all."
I watched it until it went off the air in 2011.
Yeah,
No, not 2011, 2009, the last season, and I was in
right.
high school at that time. Yeah, I
But
get the
in as we move on from Barney, talk to me a little bit about some of the
yeah,
other programs that you grew up watching. Give me a little education. I like being educated because normally I speak to people who bring up programs and I think, oh yes, I know that program. Yeah, I used to watch that. But
yeah,
you being an American might be a little bit different.
yeah. So, well, when I was much younger, before we were able to afford like cable and things, like I told you,
Hmm.
we only had, public television.
Right.
So, aside from Barney, I watched Sesame Street, which you're aware of,
Yeah, I
Mr.
love that.
Rogers' Neighborhood. We had shows like Wishbone. You ever heard of Wishbone?
Yeah, yeah.
So Wishbone that was also produced by Lyric Studios, who produced Barney.
Hmm.
It was filmed on the back lot of the studio that they were working in.
Right. Yeah, I have heard of
Um,
that.
that show I grew up with a lot. Lamb Chops Play Along um, was a big one here. Sherry Lewis was a ventriloquist who had a lamb puppet named Lamb Chop. It was
Okay.
educational also, and she was the voice of that character, and then also herself and many other puppets on that show. Um,
Right.
Gullah Gullah Island is one that I mentioned earlier that was on Nickelodeon. And that one was about um, a black family that lived on an island, and they had a kind of like a pet polywog, which is just another name for
Hmm.
a tadpole. But it was a person in a costume, a yellow frog tadpole kind of a costume.
Right.
But it was all really based in the Gola culture, which is a kind of an African descent culture, and so it was heavily rooted in that. But it was also educational.
Hmm.
Um, that's another show that I grew up on.
Talk to me a little bit now as we come to an end about what you're up to now as Mr. K. What's Mr. K got coming up in the future?
Yeah, so we will be going into here in at the very beginning of June into production for season 4.
Wow.
So we have 10 new episodes coming out this year that will be available in the fall of this year, so
Yeah.
roughly around October-ish time. So that's
Okay.
what we're working on right now. That's the biggest thing that's being done. We've revamped our show, so we did shorten it to industry standards, so it's 22 minutes that it'll be this time around.
Okay.
We've changed the format just a little bit. This is all new. No one knows this yet.
Okay.
But we've changed the format a little bit. We've provided segments in our show instead of it being just a continuous through line that we think will be more beneficial for how kids consume our show, whether they watch a 5 minute segment or they watch the entire 22-minute episode. They'll still learn the lessons we're trying to teach.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have 42 new songs this season that we're introducing. A lot of them are originals. A handful are traditional songs that we just haven't sang in our show before, like Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes,
Hmm.
or songs of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's a lot of fun. A lot of new. I think this is our best written stuff so far. This is the first season that I've written an episode for in a couple years. I have a team
Okay.
of writers who have been writing since season 2, but this year I was able to come back and do some writing on that
Right.
side of things. So that's exciting. Um, I'll give you a tidbit of something else. Um, we're going to be releasing two new albums coming throughout the summer. One of them is called Echoes of Influence 2. If you've never listened to this album, I recommend it. It's just an album of me doing piano cover songs of children's shows that inspired me growing up. So
Wow,
on the first one, we cover the Out of the Box theme song, and we cover a song, Fruit Salad from the Wiggles, and we cover I
that's
Love You
really
from
cool.
Barney, and Mr. Rogers' theme song, Sesame Street. On this new one, we cover the farewell song from Out of the Box, and
Hmm.
we cover Clifford and Dragon Tales, and some of the other
Wow.
shows that inspired me growing up. You know, it's that we pay right, we get the rights to be able to do those
Yeah,
cover
yeah.
songs and to put that album out. But it's really just it's a children's album, obviously, to introduce kids to those shows, but also it's for parents to just reminisce on shows that
I'll be
maybe they
doing
forgot
that.
about,
Don't you
or
worry about
you know,
that.
it's a
That's the
lot of it's
first
a
thing
lot
I'm
of
going to
fun.
download now when I finish this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So the first one is out now. Echoes of Influence 2 will be out sometime this summer.
Right.
Um, but we are also working on a new Mr. K show that has not been done before with any other children's preschool show, where we are targeting the kids who grow out of our preschool show. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have Mr. K's Clubhouse for kids aged 1 to 6 or 1 to 7. Our new show is for kids aged 8 and older, where we can talk
Oh,
more in
right.
depth about concepts and ideas of bullying or about
Wow,
grief
brilliant.
or divorce in a way that you can't really talk to a 2 year old about. That's never been done before, where you spin off a show that's still running, that was a preschool show with the same host, but now it's for older kids. That's not a thing that's ever happened.
No,
And I'm
normally the
excited
other
to
way around, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so I'm excited to dive into that. We'll be doing a pilot episode this year and putting it out and testing how that does. And then next year, hopefully, we produce that into a full season of episodes along with
Right.
Clubhouse. But that's a very brand new tidbit of information. No one knows. You're the only one who
Wow.
will have the platform with that
I am
information.
honored. I'm the only one that
Yeah,
knows. Exclusive, people, exclusive. Well,
yeah.
it's been fantastic talking to you. And of course, um, for people over here, where can they watch Mr. K?
Yeah. So the main place for people to get our programming is YouTube and YouTube
Okay.
Kids. If you Google if you Google Mr. K's Clubhouse, we spell Mr. M out, so Mister instead of abbreviating it.
Oh, okay.
Mr. K's Clubhouse, you will find our website. We're the only thing that should pop up now, but we're mainly on YouTube and YouTube Kids. We
Okay.
just joined a new service called Red Coral that is
Okay.
supposed to be an international service. So
Right.
if you are watching in the UK and London,
Hmm.
search up Red Coral Universe on Google and see if it's available for you guys. It should be, and if that's
Right.
the case, we are now available on that streaming
Okay.
network as well. All of our movies and our past two seasons are on there. But yeah, that's the main place. We're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. If you follow us at Mr. Case Clubhouse. Um, and tune into our content that's on there as well. Yeah, any I don't consider people who watch our show fans. I call them friends of our show.
Right.
So we love friend mail. We love new friends coming and following us and being a part of the journey with us. And we're so small still that we need more families and more kids
Yeah.
wanting to watch the show and being exposed to it. So just turning it on, even if it's just once, helps us out a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And hopefully you'll reach us over here. And maybe you'll come and do a tour over here one day when you make it the big time in
Yeah,
London.
I'm up
That the
for it.
world Mr. K's world tour. I would love it.
Yeah.
I'll be in the front row. I'll be like, this is the crazy guy, it's me. I
Yeah.
interviewed you. It's like, oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
recognize you. Shut up now. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'd love to.
Yeah, you should do. You'll be very I think it's much needed over here, and I think people would really resonate. Of course, you may have to change some of the algorithms and some of the terminology, to fit. Otherwise, we'll be sitting there thinking, I haven't got a clue what he's talking about. A diaper,
Yeah,
So you've got that.
for
But
sure.
I do have to kind of explain, even to my partner, oh, what does he mean by that Americanism? And she's
Uh-huh.
like, oh yeah, I'll just explain to her exactly what you
Gotcha.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But one thing is that you do make it accessible for anybody to watch. So it's not like if you are worried, you're going to be sitting there thinking, I don't understand anything here. You will. it is very accessible. So I'm
Thank you.
really, really pleased with that. Um, well,
Thanks, man.
thank you, Mr. K, for joining me today.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to you, as I do with all the guests, to sign us out and tell people, as you've rightly done about your channel, why they should tune in to this podcast.
Man, I think this is one of the best podcasts that I've been on, because
Oh,
you allow the opportunity for the folks that you're interviewing, one, to not feel like it's an interview. You're inviting enough that we can just talk to you like friends
of
and
course.
enjoy and indulge in things. But if you want to know more about someone, if you want to know the in depth about what they're doing, why they're doing it, I think this is the best podcast to tune into, because
Oh,
that's kind of what I have gathered is your entire focus is understanding the person behind the creativity
yeah,
that is either well known or even not well known. But
yeah,
knowing who the people are, I think makes these shows or makes these things that those people are creating more appealing if they know who the person is as a human being.
yeah.
And you get that opportunity to just be a human being on here. I dress up as Mr. K,
Hmm.
but I didn't need to have to be Mr. K. I could just be
No, right.
myself and still feel at home. So that is super rewarding when it comes to
Yeah,
podcasting or any media
yeah.
platform that I think is a great benefit that you provide.
Oh, well, I love you, man. I can send you a big hug from the screen.
Thanks,
uh,
man.
yeah, no, absolutely. That's really nice of you to say. That really is. Thank you, everybody, for joining me and my guest today, Mr. K, and the man behind him on the Be My Guest podcast channel. You haven't been a blast from the past in a podcast, but you are transporting people back to what TV was once like. And for that, I can only salute you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. K.
See ya.